This one. Not too bad today. Got about an hour before the International Junior Hockey Championship game against Russia starts, so thought I'd do a short video. I got the bikes up on the hoist, ready to pull the carbs off the Norton, and just kind of going over this Fxrs. Pulled the oh, 1 second. I just pulled the push rod shrouds up just to check these out, and they do have the adjustable. Somebody's put in the adjustable push rods, but this one's all the way to the max, which is a little concerning. And this one, oh, get up there. So I want to check those, and I want to do a compression check, and I also, I'm pretty sure this has the Andrews cam in it, but I think I'm going to pull this off the cone. And check for this, the plastic gear. Get some light going here. Anybody that owns an Evo engine from the 80s and early 90s should know this, but the breather gear was plastic from the factory, and that should be replaced with a steel one. They shred, and they break, and that's one of the things that should be fixed. So I just want to double check, make sure that one's been changed. I'm obviously going to change it on this one when I rebuild it. And there's one other thing too. And here's the box of parts right in here that come with this engine. And the Evo engines all come with this plastic slipper in here, and they disintegrate and fall apart. And there's a newer, upgraded, better quality one. And you can see this one here already is cracking and breaking, so it's ready to fall apart, this one. So I want to check that on this bike as well too. Pull the derby cover over and check that, and I'll check the clutch throwout as well, the clutch diaphragm spring. So I may as well make it a good runner and get this thing fixed up properly. Also, this one, I've got new oil lines. Yeah, you can see here the oil lines are cracked on this one. So I'm going to replace these oil lines on, put some better clamps on it, and fix that up. I think this bike had been sitting for quite a few years. So yesterday, first of all, where is it? Right here. I ordered myself one of these things on eBay. It's a little portable air compressor. You just stick it in one of my batteries. It's handy as hell. I'm sick of running my great big line off the air compressor all the way out to the end of the driveway to put some air in my truck tires or people that come over. And it's kind of a hassle around here. Well, I can just grab that little thing in my hand and put some air in. So I pumped up this tire yesterday. It was pretty much flat. And where's my light? And you can see this tire's got dry rot. It's cracking everywhere. Probably lost some more air in this thing, right? Because I filled it up with air. But you can see it's cracking all along there. The sidewalls are cracking. Yeah, there's a good example right there. So we're going to order some new tires. I thought the back one was in good shape. I checked that side, but no, it's all cracking too. As soon as you put air in it and expand, you can see all the cracks. Oh yeah, look it up here. It's terrible. So I need a couple tires. So I'm going to pull those off. Well, if you're going to pull the wheels off, then you're going to check the wheel bearings, replace them or repack them, because I don't know any history on these bikes, so I've really got to be careful. And yeah, I don't think the fork seals are leaking. I'd really like to put some bigger forks on this. These things I believe are 35 millimeter from the factory. Just a cheap little protractor or veneer caliper here. Pretty sure these are 35s. Yeah, 35 millimeter. It'd be really nice to put some 41s on there, or Y-glide front end, or I can adapt it to any of the newer bikes, but then it takes away from its originality though, trying to keep it all original. But you know, maybe if I'm gonna pull the wheel off, it's only a couple more bolts to take the forks off and change the seals in there too. Maybe I'll do that at the same time. Do the wheel bearings. They're all pretty cheap. You can get wheel bearings for this thing for like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. You can get the fork seals for like less than 10 bucks. And yeah, when I'm doing that, if you're gonna do that, check the steering head bearings as well too, and maybe repack them or check them. The speedometer on this bike isn't correct. It says basically 0, I think 421 miles. The guy says it's because the speedo drive was put on the wrong side, so it's going in reverse. But so yeah, you know, before you take any of these bikes out for a long ride, that stuff should be checked and checked all over. You know, even the belt in here, you got to have a real good close inspection on that belt. Make sure it's not cracking, falling apart. They're not cheap. They're a couple $100, 150 to 200 bucks. So that's where I'm at with that. I still would like to pull that off this week if I got time. Take it over to Peter's, sand off this, and put the original decals back on it. And yeah, when I got the cone off, I can just double check that cam in there as well too. So I got to order a gasket kit for. First, I want to pull it off and make sure. First, I'm going to pull it up before I order anything and just see what it needs. Because if you're going to pull that cam out or pull this cover off, the needle bearing in the back of the cam should be replaced. They're not that expensive, so it's just you know, I don't know if it's ever been done, and it's something that should be done. If this thing's got 80, 100,000 kilometers on it, well then that needle bearing should be pulled out and be replaced. Yeah. So this is what I was working on yesterday. Didn't film it because I had a buddy in here shooting the shit with me for an hour or two, and don't feel comfortable filming when I'm talking to people about other things anyways. So I just put the 2 bolts in here. It's just on there loose right now. And the brake pedal, this is factory stock, that's original, but this isn't. This is aftermarket. And I had this bolted on there, and I believe the specs, I believe this thing's out. I would like an 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch. This thing should be back in about an 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch. So because when I put the brake rod in here, I took this all apart. I top this off here. It was all kind of corroded, so I always kind of buff it off with the wire wheel. I put a thin layer of right here, synthetic grease lubricant. Same with the spring was all kind of corroded and rusty, so I wire wheeled that off. Just put just a thin layer of grease on there, just enough so that it won't rust and you know, won't damage the rubber here. So when I put the brake arm on here, it doesn't quite line up. I can bend it a little bit and make it fit into this hole, but it's hitting the edge right there. So it's out by 3/16, I would say. So there's a couple choices. There's a couple of these online right now for sale, the factory original ones, and it's going to work out to over $100 Canadian. They're like $75 to $85 US, and I think that would cure my problem. Or I can drill these 2 holes out Dremel them over a little bit bigger that way, slot them, so I can get a better alignment here. That's one thing. I don't really want to screw with this. I could weld those holes in and re-drill them because I think the holes are out. That's another option, but I don't think I'm going to go that route. So the easiest thing would be to Dremel these out. You know, that's what I think I'm going to have to do. Just make it so it'll slide over a little bit and get a little bit better alignment. So I can't put the exhaust on until I get this fitted on there, and flush out the brakes as well too. So that's what I've been up to the last day or two. But I think maybe I'll pull this off and just see what I got with what's inside there. Just bought this thing at the Restore, $2. This is the older Ultima ignition system. It's only got 2 programmable modes on there, 1 and 2 off. Oh, it's got this is for shovel heads as well too. It's got kickstart mode, electric start. Huh. So that's an original older Ultima ignition system. It's got little screw dials in here to adjust it. Advance, rear cylinder, rev limiter. Huh. So what I'm going to do is mark this plate. So I put it on exactly where it is right now. And how I'm going to do that, it's kind of hard for you to see on that thing. These 2 screws here. I can put a little mark on the back plate and on the wall, or what I'd like to do is put like a circle over the top of that screw. Somebody's silicone those screws in there too so they don't move. Let me get a little scribe and do that. I don't think the camera's gonna pick it up, but I'm just putting a little mark right in here on the plate. A couple of scratch marks there. And then I go this way and put a little scratch mark on the inside of the cone. And I just gotta line it back up. But what I'm noticing is, not just like the FLH over there, is it's pretty much dead center of the adjustments, just like that one. It's almost perfectly dead center, so it's always a good starting point. Bigger screwdriver. hanging like that. I've got to get this reluctor, whatever you call it, or rotor off there to take the cone off. Looks like 3/8. I started working at the Harley dealership in 1983, I think, and like January of '83. I remember it was winter time, or spring, maybe it would have been March. I think March I started. Pretty sure it was '83. Could have been '82. I don't know. I think it's '83. '83. So I gotta think here. '83. Yeah, I think so. And I worked there until '88. I got a job somewhere else, paid better money, more secure. Pretty important to Loctite that one in with blue Loctite. Okay, let's take this apart. This is the muffler bracket here. I believe it's the original one. May as well use some power tools. Kind of jumping from one project to another. I guess you see that all the time with me. But it's kind of like I gotta kind of take this apart now to see what I need so I can order it, because that might take a week, 2 weeks. And so when I get this ordered, then I can start on the next one. Right, so that's the whole idea there. How did I got one spacer, 2 spacers. Not sure why there's not 3 spacers. There should be one for there for sure. Figure that out when it goes back together. Get a little bucket for here. Okay, let me see here. Got all the screws out. This is doweled on. Sometimes they're a little bit tough getting off, especially if they haven't been off a long time. I'm just using a rubber compothane hammer there to see if I can break it loose a little bit. There, you can hear it coming. Bit of a lip down here. I might be able to pry it on a little bit, but you don't want to damage the aluminum. Sometimes you gotta pry up here at the top, but I'm just using like a flat putty knife. I'm able to squeak it in here, a little bit up there. The oil's pretty dirty. Still does have the plastic breather gear in there. See that right off the bat. And that's the shim. You gotta shim those in there. I haven't done this in so long, so many years. I say 1988. The last year I worked on in a Harley shop. And I haven't, I've worked on a lot of Harley since, like for people, just little jobs here and there, but yeah, made a mistake there. I should have loosened the tension off the push rods first. They're pushing down on this camshaft right now, and I'm gonna have to loosen those all right off. Because if somebody didn't replace that breather gear, they haven't replaced that cam bearing. So I'm gonna have to loosen these push rods all right off. Take them out. Whenever you take apart engine parts, I always like to put them back in the same spot they came out of. This push rod back in this hole, not in that hole or that hole. Just to have it. Gotta keep an eye on the clock. That hockey game is going to be starting in a minute. Want to watch that. Should be a good rivalry game. Oh, get up there. Okay. This push rod's under some tension, so lower it down. +6. Supposed to get up to +7 or 8 today. It's a little after lunch time. My garage is just a disaster zone from one end to the other. Got a bunch of parts in today. And the goal is today is to get the cam out, take the straps off the back, jack up the rear end, turn the engine over, get the cam lobes to the lowest position so I can hopefully get these push rods out without pulling the heads off. And I got a new cam bearing, and I think I'm going to put the Andrews cam in this bike. And take out the Screaming Eagle cam, and I think I'm going to put in the S&S lifters into this one. Yeah, if I can get that all apart, I should be able to do that. And I'm going to put all new gaskets on. A new seal. I got the gasket kit in. That's my goal. Let's see how far I get today with this. jungle juice. Woo. Oh yeah, I put this in already. There's the new camshaft bearing. Jeez. Fuck. It's not the one that pissed me off. These cheap ones, probably made in China or something like that. There's no engravings on the outside of them. Nothing on this side. And the company that I ordered this off, I'm going to go down and double check it. It had the proper stampings all the way around it, like the good quality one. I can't remember the name of it, but this is a cheap piece of shit one. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to go double check it. There's the steel breather valve. Geared breather valve. I've got to put that in and see if I got to shim that. Damn, that pisses me off. That looks like the cheap one. There's no stampings on it. Piss me off. That's a pretty substantial tool. That's the tool for pulling out that cam bearing, because it's a blind hole and you need an expansion puller to pull it out. So that's that. I've never owned one before and always borrowed them, or when I was at the Harley shop I used that one, but it's good to have one. There was like 40 bucks or so, I think that was 40 bucks, I think. There's a stock piston. Jeez. Fuck. It's got a little ding in the piston right there. I'll have to file that if I'm going to use it or not. I don't know. There's another really good set on there that I might get. This is an original Harley Davidson. It's supposed to be standard, but it should be stamped right there, standard. Like that one. Win some, you lose some. That piston was only $12. Good spare. What else have I got? There's a complete big twin gasket kit. 1984 to 1998 FS Big Twin. Oh, it even comes with new valve seals in it too, so. Okay, let's pull this cam out. jack came with this hoist when I got it. So I'll see if I can make that work. Let me clean this up. Okay, that tire is just off the ground, but fucking teetery, don't like that. Let me tighten this one up here. That's a little better. The stand's got 4 little adjustments down there. Okay, so now put this in top gear. So, trying to get this push rod out first because it's got the most slack in it. So I'm holding it down inside the lifter here, and I'm watching here if it is going up or down while I turn the rear wheel. Okay, it's inside the lifter there. I'm turn the rear wheel. It's going down. Come on. You know what? I gotta pull the plugs out. Makes it easier. Okay, the plugs were just in finger loose anyways. So. So much shit in here. I'm not the best organized. Still going down. Pretty sure I'm at the bottom of that camshaft there now. These are supposed to be the easy out ones, I think, but I don't think it's gonna work. Gotta make sure it's located up in here. Yeah. Unbelievable. Well, that's the lowest spot. That push rod doesn't want to come out. I don't get it. What's the point of having an adjustable push rod if it doesn't come out? I don't get it. It's still down to here. think I'm going to be pulling the heads off this thing, or the valve cover. I guess there's 3 types of push rods for these, like 3 or 4 types. There's the stock ones, which are solid one piece, and they're color coded. They have a little colored ribbon across the top painted there, purple, green, silver, black, white, I believe, and each one designates a different length. Those are the stock ones, and the only way to adjust or change those is to pull the valve covers off, rockers out, and put new ones in, measure them, and change them. And there's a guide in the Harley manual that shows you the color codes from smaller to larger, and the sizes. And then there's a set of push rods like these ones, I guess, that are adjustable push rods, but you still that way you can put these push rods in here, and as your engine heats up and gets worn in and broken in, and after 50, 80, 100, 150,000 kilometers or miles, you know, you can adjust them all the time. You don't have to change the push rods. So that's the advantage of these ones. And then there's a third type, and I think they're called easy outs, easy access, something like that. And they're actually kind of telescopic. Yeah, you undo this first lock nut in here, and then it actually has an internal shaft that slides up into there, and you can change it. You could change it, pull the push rod right out, and change the push rod. Well, if you can pull the push rod right out, then you can change the cam. Makes it a lot easier. And then I hear there's another push rod that's a 3-piece push rod that you can take it out as well too to change the cam. And but I'll show you on this one here. I'm not sure the manufacturer of these ones. I don't think there's a name. Maybe there is a name on it. I'm not sure if they're S&S. I don't see any distinctive. There's like no wrench marks on it at all. They're like brand new. But so there's one screwed all the way in, and here's one I haven't even screwed it all the way out yet. You know, and there's still support in there, so I don't know if this comes all the way out or how long that thing is. There it is there. That's the length of it right there. That's over 2 inches, 2.5 inches probably. So it'd be really nice to put these in there if I can pull them in and out so I can change the cam. So it looks like I'm going to have to pull those valve covers off to get that cam out, to change the bearing in there, because I don't know if it's been done. Or I could just put her back together. That's another option. I could just put the new breather in and readjust those valves again, and leave the Screaming Eagle cam in there, which isn't too bad. It's not quite as aggressive as the E27 Andrews cam. It's a little bit milder, a little bit less lift. I just don't know how many miles are on this bike. No idea. And the guy that I got off doesn't know either, because he got it as a lien on a property that he was working on. So, and there's no leaking that I can see, you know, on this engine. The only thing that I do see is some green or orange RTV silicone on the crankcases, so it's been apart. And it would have had to have come apart to put this cam and those push rods in. I think the quickest, easiest road right now is just put the new cam gear in there. Go with the Screaming Eagle cam and readjust those push rods. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. If I had a bunch of leaks up in here, yeah, I could pull the whole thing right apart. Yeah, let me think on that. Here you can see the marks here. There's a dot on the cam, and there's a slash between the two gears on the crankshaft pinion. And then over here on the cam, you see a little fine little dot that lines up with a slash on this breather gear. So that's at the point where I want to pull this out. And put the new one in. You can see on this, the problem with these plastic gears is this plastic gets really hard and brittle and pieces break off. You can see here in the breather hole that something has gone through here and it's wore through this gear. I don't know if there's a chip in one of the teeth. That's what usually happens. And it can really damage the this hole here. Sometimes you can bore these out and you can buy an oversized gear. This one's all right. It's got a little bit of, you can see a little bit of a scoring in there. But where are we at the camera? Yeah, you can see there's a few little lines in there, but you can't. You can see them, but I can't feel them with my finger. There's no grooves in there. I don't feel anything. Okay. So clean this out a little bit. Just make sure there's nothing in there. There's, you know, I read a lot of articles there on some forums on the internet about pros and cons of you know, the plastic gear versus the steel gear. And if you've got these plastic gears and they're 20, 30 years old like this one is, it's got to be replaced one way or the other. You know, they get brittle, they get hard. You can see this one's got a groove cut in it already. And when they break up, those little plastic pieces can cause a little damage. This gear won't break up. This gear won't break unless something else jams in the engine. And obviously the plastic gear is a lot cheaper than this. This is 34 bucks. That thing's like 10 bucks. So they're thinking it's just that Harley went that route. You know, it was just cheaper. But it's, you know, people think it's because it's a plastic gear, well, it's going to cause less damage in the engine if it breaks. But it does cause a lot of damage anyways. I just kind of want to confirm the marks. The mark on this one is quite a ways away. The mark on the new ones, like, it's not right up here, it's way the hell down here. So I'm just going to kind of confirm. You can see this mark is right at the edge of the breather where these two holes are. So let me just see if this is the same. Yeah, so it's right where this hole is in the slot and these heart. So that is the mark. But you can see it's not it's on the inside circle, not the outside circle, so a little deceiving there. That's where that goes. Now we'll shim it. I only got one shim. If it doesn't work, then I got to order one or make one. This gasket kit comes with 2 derby covers, cone covers, and this is the one that I need. It's got this cutout here. This one I believe is for the shovel heads, so I don't remember seeing that before. So what it says to do is to put the gasket on, put a straight edge across it, measure the distance to the breather gear, and allow 6 thou for squish of the gasket. And then you want anywhere from 1 or 2 thou to 11 thou, I think 11, 12 thou for clearance. You want between 1 and 11 thou clearance when the cam housing covers on the cone. I got the shim in here, but it's going to squish 6 thou, that gasket. So I really want, if I could get anywhere from 10 to 17 thou would be great. So put the straight edge across here, hold it firmly, and I got my 17 thou feeler gauge in here, and it's just snug, so it's just right. Not really good to see that way, but it's actually tight to get it in there. So I know it's going to be close. It's going to be around 15 or 16 thou. Like, that's tight. It's holding the feeler gauge in there tight. So that's perfect. That's good. I'd rather it be on the high end of clearance than the low end. So, and that's exactly where it's at. So I'm going to flush this out a little bit better, and might goop up this gasket a little bit, clean up the surfaces a little bit better, and then bolt the cone back on, because what that's going to do, it's going to lift up this. Right now this cam's just sitting in a loose because I've got all the push rods loose, and that's what you want. So I want to get this all bolted back on, torqued in, and then I'll reset those push rods. And I'll explain that when I get there. I'm not even going to put gasket sealer on this. This is a pretty thick, beefy gasket here, and there was nothing on it before. If I was reusing it, I would put some gasket goop on it, but I don't think I'm going to need it here. What I will do is, I've got a little bit of assembly lube here. I put a little bit on these gears. And I'm going to put a little bit in the bushings, cam bushing there, and the crank bushing, and then on here, so it's not starting up dry. And this is where the oil feed hole goes through here. And it goes right through the derby cover, so you want to make sure those holes line up. I already checked that. I think I'm ready here. Oh, I want to put a little bit of lube on this camshaft seal right inside here. I checked that seal. It's nice and soft and pliable still. If it was hard as a rock, I would be changing that, but I think this bike has been rebuilt not that long ago. Sure of the locations of these yet. I gotta figure it out. That appears to be the long one there. Should have watched my video. Okay, I got the derby cover all back on. Hand torque, it's between 15 and 30 inch-pounds. Same with the screw in the center. And I just do it by feel because I don't have an inch-pound wrench. If you went to 36 inch-pounds, that's 3 foot-pounds. So, but my gauge starts at 3. You can't trust it at that low level. So what I'm doing here is making sure that push rod's all the way in at the top, all the way in up here, and getting all the slack out of this here. I don't want to, you don't want to keep screwing this down and keep it under tension, because you're just going to bleed the lifter down, and you let it sit for a couple minutes, it's loose, then you tighten up a little bit more, you bleed the lifter down, and it gets loose again. So you just want it so it's just touching. And I think that's maybe what is why this push rod looked like it was extended so far the last time. Like, there's how much play I got there now, 1/2 inch. Before there was 3/4 inch on there. It looked like there was quite a bit. Anyways, we'll see. So okay, that's right there. And these push rods have different threads per inch, 24, 26, and depending on how many threads per inch it is how many turns of the nut you want to make it. Most of them are 21 faces. There's 6 faces on a nut, so 4 turns is 24. It's a little bit too much. 3 is 18, so it's like 3.5 turns on the wrench. So let me get some wrenches and do that. Up here, I put a white piece of paper behind these threads so I could use my thread gauge to see how many threads per inch this one is. I was comparing it to this one, and this one's actually metric. It's 0.8 millimeters, so basically 8 threads per centimeter on this one. This is metric. I can't find a standard size for that. It's close to the 32. I don't have a 32 gauge. I only got the 30. But so this one, I can hold it up. I can hold this piece up to this one, and this is much finer. So this one I'm measuring, it should be 28, and it is. I'm holding my 28 threads per inch gauge up to it, and that's what this one is. So we've got 200 thou. The hydraulic lifters will compress. They have 200 thou movement. So we want to set the lifter in the middle of that. So you got 100 thou play one way and 100 thou the other way. So now it comes down to math. And my calculator's on my phone. This push rod here does have a dot on the top section. So what I'll do is I'll hold the bottom one still, and right there's where she's bottom, and I'll turn this top one 16.8 faces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then almost another face right about there. Lock that in. And do the back one next. So we're going to rotate the rear wheel to get that push rod down as low as possible. This is what's bothering me. I got 3/4 of an inch there, pretty close, 5/8, 3/4 of an inch of adjustment there. And then this one, I'm not getting, well, I haven't turned it yet, but it's only a couple turns of threads. I don't like that. It's located, everything's located. You know, I know I haven't got this one adjusted yet, but you know, I'm only going to turn it 2.5 turns. Look at the difference, this one to this one. What I'm thinking is that maybe those valves have been machined down and the one is sunk more to the head, or I've got a valve that's sunk into the head a little bit. It's got a lot more free play than the other side. Either way, it's not good. It shouldn't be out by that much. Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy. I don't like that. There. Look at all the adjustment I've got on this one here. And this one I haven't started to adjust yet, but at the most I'm going to give it is 3 turns. Like it's at the lowest part of the lobe right now. I can spin it. And these two, like this one's loose, so it's going to be fairly loose. I'm just wondering if somebody did a valve job on this at one time. Did they grind the valves off too much? So now I got a lot more free play on this one. Like I almost got to pull the heads off. Just to reassure myself. I got to think on this some more. Maybe I'll call this a video for today so far and think about that. That just bothers me. Yeah, they should be all pretty close, within a couple turns of each other, the lengths of the rod, but not 3/4 of an inch longer than the next push rod. You know, unless he's got 2 different types of push rods in here. You know, which shouldn't be. You know, it shouldn't be. All right, I got to think on that, whether I'm going to get into this thing even deeper.